Hey, what's up? It's me, Amelia, aka Amelia, or I'm Amelia. Really, I don't really care how people pronounce it at this point. I am here to walk you through the session. Behold the session for Marble Run, the first track on my album, Bananamelia. So here we are right at the start. We got the choir pad. This is resampled from like a sound font. A sound font is like how people used to deliver groups of sounds in the past, where it's like a file that you can unpack and it has a bunch of different samples in it. This was one someone had made on some kind of like web 1.0 like sound point depository that had all these choir sounds in it. So I stacked a couple of them, made a chord, recorded that back into audio, and then used that to make this pad. A lot of the sounds on this record are made like that because I wanted to emulate that kind of 90s sound where like everything is sampled. Everything has these like artifacts and reverbs and saturations and things from someone else's record. But I didn't want my album to be totally illegal, so I didn't want to sample a bunch of records. I could have got this off Radioactivity by Kraftwerk, like where New Order got it for Blue Monday, but I didn't. I made it myself. The bell, I didn't make myself. This one is from a different sound font. I was very into sound fonts at the time. This one's from a sound font for, I think, Kirby 64, a game I've never played. But I was on a remix compilation for like video game music. I think from the N64. Maybe this is the GameCube Kirby. I don't know. Anyway, I downloaded this as part of that, and I got obsessed with the bell. And the stream, I think the stream might be from a CD of like free nature samples that I found at the tip store in West Auckland. Shout out. So I made this whole album in order from start to finish. I started a track at the start and I made each bit in order until I got to the end, and then I made the next track, and only like very little did I kind of come back and add extra things or change stuff. So this first bit, you can kind of hear me figuring out what direction the album is going to go into. And at this point, I think it was going to be like Balearic New Age cassette meets LTJ Bookham. I don't know. It did not turn out like that. But we do have this like very classic jungle bass here. The Akai S950 was a hardware, it was like a rack sampler. It came with a test sound to make sure it was working that just went woo. But if you pitch that down, you got bass. And so it's like basically just like a pretty raggedy sine wave. I don't know. I'm usually not into like, oh, this thing has a special magic. But I feel like the sine wave from the S950 has a vibe. Look, you can see. It's like, it's wonky. And that's doubled with this sample of me playing a bass from a different music project called Femo that is like 80s stuff. So it's this very like big plucked too hard bass sound, just because otherwise you can't hear some of the bass notes. Actually, you can't hear some of the bass notes anyway. That's maybe one thing that I would change about this record if I got to make it again, would be the key. Hot tip, don't make your sub bass notes so low that you need a sub to hear them. It's very annoying for 90% of people who don't have a sub. But here we go. And now I've kind of figured out a bit more what the album is going to sound like. I've got the think break. And very soon I'm going to have... Yeah. I wonder if it's going to work if I just loop this bit. So this here, the boss, what I've called the boss break. It's more of a bossa break, but it's a drum beat that I made with samples from the CR78, which is like it's like quote unquote the first programmable drum machine. Your mileage may vary in trying to program it. But it's like, it was very popular in the like late 70s, early 80s. It's on Heart of Glass and stuff like that. It sounds like the drum machines that are on like old organs and things, and I just love it. So it's a beat programmed on that, put through loads of saturation and some reverb and stuff. Eagle-eared listeners may be able to hear the pitch is going up and down. So it's like very obvious that it's a loop as well. And that was on purpose. And I feel like this is basically the defining sound of the record. It sounds pretty dinky when it's by itself, but like with everything else, I feel like it's a real vibe. So I've got these kind of like battling think breaks, which was inspired by, lots of stuff, because the think is like the most forgiving drum break to cut, especially if you want to do some really crazy cuts with it. The hits will basically sit wherever you want them to. It sounds great for really, really like fast chops and like special effect type things. You can see I've got all these volume envelopes programmed so you can have this kind of like that kind of stuff. And the think will let you do whatever you want with it. If you want to get into cutting breaks, start with the think. It's very easy to handle. But yeah, so I was listening to Soichi Terada's album Sumo Jungle Grandeur, where he has a bit of like two think breaks battling, and I've always loved them, like the really hectic bits of jungle where it's breaks on breaks on breaks. There's a compilation called Hard Leaders Volume 7 that I was very kind of like formative for me, especially the Lemon D track on there, whose name I don't know because it's like it was wrong on the CD, so for me it's like Back to Chicago, but I know that's a different Lemon D track, so I'm not sure what it actually should be called, but like that kind of hectic breaks stuff is I love it. It's so good. And that's hectic breaks. The bossa thing, that's the album. And then the final element comes in about here. With my like slightly austere piano that is at the heart of the record. So it's again, it's a resampled thing. So the base of it is a free VST called Iowa Piano. I guess they sampled some kind of piano in Iowa, and then that's run through some like tape saturation. The producer Lego Welt has a Ableton device that's a tape saturator with like wobble, and that's on heaps of stuff on this record. Get that if it's still on his website. And it's also, I was obsessed with a convolution reverb plugin called, it's up here, Convology XT, which has very awkward stereo imaging. So you can see like half the record is panned slightly to one side because of this reverb. Look, doesn't matter, who cares? But that and this string sound here are like the core of the album, although the way that I'm using it in this track is not how I end up using it on the rest of the record, but these two sounds are like the sounds of the album. And so that first bit of the track before we got here took me like as long to make as the album, because everything I did I was like, no, this is wrong, and I did it again. It went through a bunch of iterations until I like got up to here and I was like, okay, this is the vibe. Yeah, so you can also hear like everything at the start is like slathered in reverb, and is very kind of like, yeah, like new agey vibey, and then everything from here is like, what if I had very flat sounds playing very complicated chords with a kind of like light music groove to it? Partly because I was listening to a lot of 90s Japanese shibuya music, and then also a lot of like actual 60s like lounge stuff. So here is the other big break of this track. This is like the opposite of Think. Think is very forgiving. This break sucks to cut. It's the hardest of the like classic breakbeats to slice. It's the Soul Pride, and it sounds amazing. It's like jazzy, and has a real groove to it, but it's such a pain. Partly because the groove is very like specific and uneven, and if you try and like put stuff too much where it doesn't want to be, it doesn't sound like anything. And partly because it's not like super in time, it has a very loose feel to it, and so because I was like militantly opposed to using like strict pitching algorithms, you can see, yeah, so Ableton's a bunch. Beats like just plays it from every time that there is a transient, and then the other ones do all kinds of like complicated stuff, and Repitch just like speeds it up until it's the right speed for where it should be, which also changes the pitch. And so again, eagle-eared listeners may be able to hear the pitch of the hits is very like seasick, which I quite like, but is because not every cut, but a lot of cuts have to be repitched and like kind of tweaked so that it stays in time with this very like rigid grid of modern electronic music. Yeah, here we go. What's next? Another obsession of this era, pure square wave. Lots of square waves on here, just like I think it's partly because a lot of synths have quite like buzzy sounding square waves, especially like I was used to using kind of like cheap modern Korg stuff. It has a very like square wave, not this like very kind of 70s sounding like thing from this like free plug-in emulation of an old Roland keyboard, but it's a very this is a square wave I like, and you hear it a lot on the record. I don't even know. See, this kind of stuff is not on any of the other tracks. This kind of like textural element. The rest of the record, I'm like, no textures, no more textures. But I'm still working it out here. This is quite cool. I have literally no idea how I made this. Yeah, couldn't tell you. It'll be resampled, very likely from PGAX, to be honest. All right. Also, at this point, I've doubled up the bell because it was getting a bit overpowered by all the other elements. So, have this kind of like nice little vibrato soar. This is a really pretty sound. The new album that I'm putting together sounds a lot more like this, and a lot less like this. You know, everything has the seed of itself within itself. But really, we're all just waiting for the I finally, at this point, caved and put in the signature thing of the think break, which is that it's like, it whoops all the time. And usually I cut that out. And at this point I was like, look, I've used every other bit. It's time to have the look, did I go overboard? That's for you to judge. I think it's very tasteful. And I didn't use the other bit, which is the whoop woo overdone, you know. It's probably in here somewhere, to be honest. The clavinet is this bit is very video gamey. People always tell me that this record reminds them of video game music, and I honestly am not like a huge video game music person. Since making this record, I've listened to it because people always link it to me and stuff. But this bit is pretty. Look, I gotta hand it to people. You know, at the start I may have been going for like private release cassette meets LTJ booking, but here I'm going for like the Ridge Racer soundtrack, pretty explicitly, I think. But it's I don't know. It's really just providing a base for this for these like quite outrageous cuts on the think break that we get here. Really just kind of doing everything I can with it. Oh, I just love that sound so much. If I could like live inside of a sound, it would be like insane cuts of the think break with lots of volume envelope bullshit. Oh, I did use the yeah woo. Wow. Yeah, I basically did everything I could think to do with the think in this. It's got pitched to halftime bits, it's got reversed bits, it's got every kind of volume envelope trick I know. Yeah, I just wanted this first track really to be a think workout, and everything else is like in service of that, but I'm actually really happy with this melody. It's kind of like, ooh, what? It's asking a big question. What's gonna happen? Okay, here we go. We're into the final stretch of the track now. That is from the next track. I made that for the next track and then pulled it back in. I think the original version had like a reverse cymbal there or something a little bit. I don't know. That's the other thing for this record is I said no risers. And I know I have this thing that's labeled ARP riser, but it's more of like a transitionary effect. And there are no like yeah. Oh, there still is a reverse. Okay, there still is a reverse symbol. Oh, that'll teach me for getting high and mighty about overused tropes in electronic music. Yeah, and then we're just kind of settling into this mellow vibe. And I think by this stage the song is also like changed key. I was trying to figure out some of the, I guess like, I don't know, like theory, you know, chord progression-y type stuff behind it. It's been a few years since I made it. And it's very unclear where it wants to live. But this bit here, eventually becomes the basis for gap selection. Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, it's very hot in this weird garage where I am, but that's I think basically it for this track. And I'll see you at French Press. Wait, let's just hear the. Oh, that's nice.